Some houses whisper, but in Todd Brown's debut novel, When Shadows Burn, the past doesn't whisper, it screams. Set in a small southern town with secrets as heavy as its history, this Southern Gothic thriller explores identity, silence, and the cost of truth. Today we step into the shadows of Ravenscross with the author himself to uncover the artistry and intention behind a story that feels hauntingly real. Thank you so much, Dr. Todd Brown, author, speaker, social scientist, and AwareNow columnist. Thank you for joining me here to share the space and to share the story about your story.
Yeah, no, thank you. We were just saying how difficult it is to get your voice out in the world because the world is such a big place. So having an opportunity like this is fantastic, so I do appreciate it and thank you for taking the time to talk.
Yeah, well, let's get started like this. In your debut novel, it's titled When Shadows Burn. Ravenscross and the Scott House, they're
Mhm.
more than a setting, they feel alive, almost like characters themselves. So, first question for you, Todd, is what inspired you to give place such a degree of presence? And second part to that, how does that reflect the truths that communities carry, not only in their walls, but in their histories?
So that's too hard of a question to answer, so we'll skip that. Um, no, no, seriously, the reality of it is that when you read or people read, especially Southern Gothics, there is so little that has to do with inclusion of neurodivergent and queer people. Um, it is a form of, and maybe it's unintentional, but it's a form of erasure. When you never include certain groups, especially marginalized groups, in these types of media, it's as though they don't exist. So it's much, much easier to ignore marginalized groups and excuse your behavior against, if you want to call it that, these types
Mhm.
of people. And ultimately, I wanted to write a reflection of so many towns around America that probably are doing this, and they may use the excuse of heritage
Mhm.
or that in-group clique bias of, who really gets to be forgiven
Yeah.
when something goes wrong, because if you have historical roots in the area, you tend to be forgiven a lot easier and quicker and kind of push things under the rug
Mhm.
than the outsider, meaning either somebody that has moved in geographically or somebody that is a marginalized person. Um,
Mhm.
and I wanted to give the town a feel of being a character itself and the
Yeah.
house itself. Um, so that's really kind of where all of this came from, is just the reality that, neurodivergent and queer people do exist. And believe it or not, they are in rural America. They're just not seeing themselves in that and portrayed that way. And that's an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you do it so brilliantly. Let's talk about how your novel opens. A quiet tragedy in the past. It sets the tone for everything that follows.
Mhm.
Why was it important for you to begin the story with history? And what does that say about the way communities handle or fail to handle their own scars?
Yeah, I think you just hit it on the head, is that it's if something is has historical roots, people tend to um, it's been carved in stone, and that's just the way it is. And
Mhm.
I hear this a lot with when it comes to, again, marginalized communities. When you look back and take our morality and ethics in today's world, because we do progress, and apply it to something historical,
Mhm.
there's an enormous amount of wrongs that occurred but people tend to reclassify it and go, well, those were just the times. That's just the way it was.
Yeah.
Correct, but that doesn't excuse the behaviors or the
Hmm.
language. Yeah, I get it, but we've moved on, so we need to address these situations and through our eyes today and say, hey, these people, maybe they didn't know better, but we can still call a fault, and that's how we progress by
Yeah.
identifying and unveiling these kinds of things. And I think that's really the part of why I started the way I started. And it was kind of an idea to create a whisper down the lane, that old game like Operator, where somebody says something
Hmm.
and then how quickly it can just catch fire and have zero basis in fact. But we still want to keep it alive because it's historical and it's just part of who we are. And that's not necessarily the case in reality.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Well, and it's to that point, it's, if we can't see it, we can't learn from it. We can't,
Hmm.
if it's buried back up, back down, we can't, we don't have the
Hmm.
opportunity to learn
Yeah.
from it. And so it is bound to repeat itself because we have not learned yet. And so,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
so one of your central characters arrives in Raven's Cross chasing a story, only to uncover something that is much deeper than expected. What were you hoping to explore about truth seekers and the risks and rewards of asking questions that others might be afraid to ask?
Um, I think what I was intending to do first, I wanted to backtracking a little bit. I wanted to write the best book I've ever read that doesn't exist, if that makes sense. I wanted to, that's kind of what I was like, there's things that are being missed in these genres, and I love reading everything. So I thought, how could I write something that on the surface looks one way, and the intention of the main character or one of the main characters is this, but they get swept away in something that has really nothing to do with them,
Mm.
and they're trying to stay afloat with all of the tidal wave of garbage that they're having to deal with.
Hmm.
And how that really reflects a lot of times what we deal with as people, that we're intending to do something,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, especially in the world of social media and the
Yeah.
internet, like you make a statement and then all of a sudden 8 million people are jumping on your case
Hmm.
without having any understanding or idea who you are, where you come from, and why you've said what you say, or how you've behaved. And
Hmm.
it becomes very judgmental.
Hmm.
And I will say that I just finished the conclusion of this story arc. It's called What the Raven Saw, and it really interrogates what you just brought up, looking at what is the cost of telling a story.
Yeah.
When we see all these true crime documentaries and podcasts and everything, what is the cost to the people that were part of that story that maybe they don't want it told, and not for
Hmm.
malicious reasons, they just don't
Hmm.
want to have it happen again. And then what happens when you do tell the story and the world hears it, and now I want to go look at the house where somebody was murdered,
Yeah.
and I want to go take the tour, and people capitalize on that.
Hmm.
Is that okay? Is it not?
Hmm.
I don't want to have people walking around and doing whatever and uncovering garbage that happened here that I had nothing to do with, but I
Hmm.
get swept away with that because of
Hmm.
all the people coming in. It's just that's kind of where I was looking to do and where I
Hmm.
was looking to go with this.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, because in all of these things, right, that there's the risk, the reward. I mean, in all things in
Yeah.
life, but you really do a incredible job of showing exactly what those things can look like
Mm.
in a very profound way. Um, let's talk about another character. Another character's journey is rooted in identity and the courage to live authentically, even in the face of fear, of resistance. what does that arc reveal about resilience? And how, I mean, how does it speak to the bravery of so many people that carry quietly that in real life?
Yeah, and without getting into spoilers, I think that the reality is that people shouldn't have to, they really shouldn't have to get to a point where um, truth and bravery overshadow terror. Like, I
Mm,
shouldn't have to be at that point where I finally am just brave enough to just overcome the absolute horror that I have to deal with on a daily basis. Um, you know, the root of this entire story to me is the ultimate horror is something that shouldn't be happening, but is.
mm,
So that's kind of what we see with that character. I cannot imagine as an individual, I am a father of a trans son, so I experience it in a different way.
mm,
I cannot imagine what it's like to wake up every day and know that people hate me for absolutely no reason. And they judge me as a teenager based on who I am that doesn't affect them whatsoever. And that kind of bravery to walk down the street or work in a shop or whatever is so profound. And it's also incredibly disgusting that it even has to happen. And that's a big part of that character's arc, and a big part of that idea of, again, that's true horror. My life as an individual, I'm living in a horror story because it's unfounded hate that I have to deal with at any given time. As a white cishet man, I don't have to ever worry about that.
mm-hmm.
But my son does for no reason. So,
Yeah. And what that must be like, certainly for your son, but for you as a parent, that you
hmm.
can't protect him from that.
Yeah, it's scary. It's horrifying. Fortunately, we live in a fantastic area.
Hmm.
So, but we do have to leave the bubble,
Yeah.
and you just never, it's an interesting feeling. And I say interesting, knowing that I have to be armed with information and have to be ready to snap back at somebody every time I leave the house. And and it's absurd, but
Yeah.
that's what it is. And I know what I have written will be the subject of um, discussion, which is good, but bigotry.
Hmm.
And my publicist and I are already discussing what happens when the book gets banned. Um, my first thing I'm doing is I'm going to make a shirt that said I wrote a banned book and wear it
Mm.
proudly. But
Hmm.
it's just that I don't know. It's not even I don't even know the words for it. It's so just absurd
Yeah.
that this is where we are.
Yeah. And we should be so much further. Um, so you develop your characters with such a degree of depth that I hurt with them.
Mm.
I healed with them. What character, that we're going to get personal, what character do you see yourself in most, Todd, and why?
Oh gosh. So I probably Tim, the podcaster.
Mhm,
Um, I would say there is a bit of another character. His name's Bob. That's a teacher. I wrote a little bit of me into him
mhm,
and Tim. I did write. I wrote what I know,
mhm,
and I've written people that something happens to.
mhm,
I've written a group of people that things happen to, and that's kind of the root again of the story is, you know, Tim's just a guy and he's trying to do his best and he's
right.
trying to tell these stories and do his job and then gets again kind of bombarded in something that he really didn't want to be part of. But then once
Yeah.
he realizes that, it's like, no, this is wrong, and we're going to fix this.
Mhm.
So I think I probably would say, Tim, I wrote Amanda, the female lead,
Mhm.
is my wife. Like
Mhm.
some of the banter is just it's just our house.
Right.
And again, that's the thing I've read forever, and I've been, all the different authors that I've read say the same thing. Write what you know. And that's what I did. I tried to create people. Stephen King said, write good characters, and then the story will take care of itself. So that's what I really, really
Mhm.
focused on.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, without giving anything away, your novel ends with a mix of
Mhm.
loss, of hope, darkness, light. So my last question for you is, what message do you most want readers to carry with them about truth, healing, and the possibility of redemption?
Yeah, I mean, life is not cut and dry, right? Not life is not. I mean, life is a novel, right? I mean, there's plot twists, and there's people that that all of a sudden you don't jive with, and vice versa.
Mhm.
So I think the biggest takeaway is, you know, live life to the fullest and to really, really examine your actions and words,
Mhm.
um, because everything has weight, and it could be positive or negative, but especially kids, they're always watching,
Mhm.
and they're watching how you react to certain things, and that's how they learn. And we'd rather pass on love than hate, I would hope.
Mhm.
Um, and again, life is not clean, and it's important to recognize when you mess up and when you were wrong, and come to that reality of, you know what, that was not the best. I need to
Mhm.
do something to change. And I think that's what horror does a lot. Even though there's all these scary, crazy, whatever, it holds up a mirror to us to
Mhm.
see ourselves. And a lot of times we don't like what we see. And that's the scary part of horror. There's the visceral, gore or whatever, but the
Mhm.
reality is we may see something in that we don't like. So we need to recognize that, and we need to have the humility to then reconcile it.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what I was hoping to accomplish.
Well, bravo to you, my friend, because you more than accomplished it. Like you
Thank
just
you.
did an incredible job. Actually, one more question for you.
Yeah,
Bonus
good.
question. When can we expect two things, the audiobook and the movie? Because I want both. I want both.
Okay, so book is October 14th
Uh-huh.
is the release nationwide.
Hmm.
Audiobook is December 1st.
Hmm.
Emily Wuzeller is narrating that. She's literally won every award you can possibly win, from the Oscars of audiobooks, the Emmys, that kind of, and was the Golden Voice Award winner. She is absolutely amazing. She's part of the queer community. I've tried to surround myself with people with these experiences so they can bring a known passion
Yeah.
to it. As far as I've been told by quite a few people that this reads like a series,
Hmm.
a television series.
Hmm.
That's the goal, to be honest, to get it in front of more people's eyes. And so yeah, that I would love, obviously, for that to happen, and go from there. So first week of December, audiobook, October 14th, book release, ebook, hardcover, paperback, all at once. It'll
Hmm.
be out there.
Awesome.
See what happens.
So excited. You gonna play Tim when the time comes?
Yeah, nobody wants to put me on. No, that
Come on.
Tim has hair right there. That'll be the first fictional part, is I have hair. Yeah, that would be fantastic. But no, I would like a cameo, as a matter of fact. But
All right. Well, let's
but
think on
yeah,
that. Let's think on that. Let's think on the clever
I've
cameo.
already cast my entire book. I've already cast it, and the budget would be like $7 billion with all the cast I have. I'm just like, oh, I could build this Academy Award, But so that's part of the
Why
fun.
not? Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank
Exactly.
you, Todd, for being brilliant, for sharing your gift of writing, of storytelling with the world in this way to help wake people up. And thank you for helping all of us become a bit more aware now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's great talking to you.
Great to speak to you.